Hello, hi everyone. I am Sanjay Gupta. I welcome you on Sanjay Gupta Tech School. Today we have day 54 of this Salesforce Learning Bootcamp, and you can see today we are going to discuss one more type of asynchronous epics, and the type is batch epics, right? So I hope yesterday I explained you how we implement future epics, so you understood that well, and you did some practice also, like how we can implement future methods with the help of asynchronous epics process, right? And I gave you one assignment as well, so I hope you have practiced that. So for the folks, those who are joining this session for the first time, so if you want to know, like if you join this session for the first time and you want to follow all the sessions of the bootcamp, so you can just go through with this slide which shows like uh, who am I and what experience I have and what all certifications I have done. So you can just go through with this slide so that you can have enough insight. And here we have a session tracker. This session tracker is basically containing all the live recordings for those sessions which are already delivered. And here you can see day-wise schedule is available. So whenever there is a session, so on that day, I just provide a link here so that you can follow. So the link of this session tracker is available in the description of this video. And there is an exercise sheet. So if you click on this link, so you will find an exercise sheet. So in this exercise sheet on daily basis, I just provide you some questions for practice. So you can just follow this as well. And I know like many folks are already following both the documents, but the new folks who find this video randomly, so this I am just explaining for them, right? So these are 7 virtual learning best practices that everybody needs to follow. So you need to proper focus on live session, take proper notes, write down doubts, ask them in QA part of the session. Don't miss any session as all the topics are connected. Practice each and every session with the exercises. So I already showed you the exercise sheet. And if you miss any session or you want to ask doubts, so we have a Telegram group. You can join that as well and practice these on daily basis. So do regular practice and become a consistent learner. And if we move forward, so here you can see the Telegram group link is available, or you can say QR code is available. So you can scan and become part of this Telegram group. And this is the timeline. So we are in week 15. So this is the second session of this week. And soon asynchronous apex topic will also be covered. And next week I will be delivering you the basics of Visual Force, right? And after that, you will be having integration sessions which are very much important for you. So as per your demand, I just added Visual Force and integration in this bootcamp, right? So just follow this. And if you have not followed Sanjay Gupta Tech School on these platform, so do follow. My platform is available on YouTube that you are already watching. LinkedIn, where I just provide all timely updates. Recently, I just shared admin Udemy course, free coupon code on LinkedIn. So I just share lots of material on LinkedIn, so you can follow me there. Instagram, like you frequently use, so you can follow me there. I just provide all the notifications there. And Telegram, like this Telegram channel, if you join, so there also you will receive timely notification and important things. And session tracker and exercise sheet links are available in the description of this video. So through that you can access. Okay, so share this channel with lots of folks, because there will be more and more boot camps in regular intervals, and help me to reach 100K subscribers by the end of this month. So this is humble request. So if you want to show gratitude and support, so please help me to reach 100K subscribers. Thank you. And now jumping onto the topic. So today's topic is batch epic. So we'll be discussing about that, right? So those folks who joined late or those who are watching the recording. So once again, welcome on the channel. So I just completed the brief introduction part. Now we'll be focusing on the topic like what is batch epics. So yesterday we discussed about how to implement future method, and while explaining future method, I just told you like we use future method if we want to run any process asynchronously. Like a separate thread will be there, and that thread will be executing the process in the background whenever resources are available. So generally, if you want to do web service call out, so we prefer future methods, right? But first of all, now we need to understand the requirement of batch epics, right? So what batch epics is? So basically, batch epics runs large jobs. It can process thousands or millions of records. So basically, what we need to do whenever you want to work on your existing data, whenever you want to work on your existing data that is already available in your org, so that data you can process with the help of batch epics, right? So with the help of batch epics, you can query that existing data and you can apply a certain process, and through that process, whatever modifications you want to done in each record, you can do. So basically it processes records asynchronously in batches. So for example, if you have 1,000 records that you want to process, so basically your 1,000 records won't be processed all together. They will be divided into different batches. So default batch size is 200. So if you queried 1,000 records, so those 1,000 records will be divided into 5 pieces of 200 records each, right? So in first go, first 200 records will be processed. In second go, next 200 records will be processed. So this way, your whole data will be divided into separate batches. That's why it is known as batch epics. And generally we use batch epics for data cleansing and or archiving purpose. So data cleansing means like if you have unwanted data, you have some data or you have some records, those are available under particular object, but they are of no use. So you can just clean them or delete them. Archiving means like they will be deleted. So cleansing means it can be done like you are updating some records. So you are just populating any value, or you are just blank. You are like removing some value from particular fields. So these kind of operations, if you want to perform on existing data, so for that purpose, we basically use batch epics, right? So these are some introductory point related to batch epics. So how batch epics works? So this is very much important to understand. So uh, like batch epics basically works. Uh, so here we have to implement an interface. So basically, whenever you want to write any batch epics class, so you will be implementing an interface. So with the help of syntax, I will tell you what is actually the interface name. So right now you just need to understand like we have an interface that is predefined, and in that interface we have several methods. So uh, to implement batch epics, you need to implement that interface, and whatever methods are available in that interface, you need to define them, right? So the execution logic of the batch class is called once for each batch of record that is being processed. So basically when you implement any interface in the batch epics, so there will be total 3 methods. One will be start, one will be execute, and one will be finish. So if you are processing on 1,000 records, so start and finish will work once, but your execute method will be running 5 times if you have default batch size of 200, right? So the execution logic you need to write in the execute method. Okay, so in upcoming slides, I will be discussing each method in detail as well. So we have 3 methods: start, execute, and finish. So execute method will be having all the business logic, and that execute method will be running again and again. It will be depending upon like how many batches or like how many records you have, those you will be processing. So each time when a batch class is invoked, the job is placed on the Apex job queue and is executed as a discrete transaction, right? So it will be running asynchronously. So in the background, like it will be initiated and it will be running in the background, and in the foreground, you can just execute any other process also. So what are the advantages of implementing batch epics? So every transaction starts with a new set of governor limits, right? So this is simple, like every transaction starts with a new set of governor limits. So like if you have different batches, so each batch will be having new set of governor limits. So there are less chances like your transaction will fail. And if one batch fails to process successfully, all other successful batch transactions aren't rolled back. So for example, if you are processing 1000 records, so if we take 200 as default batch size, so there will be total 5 batches, right? So those 5 batches, from those 5 batches, if one batch is failing, so that one batch 200 records will be unsuccessful. Remaining 4 batches 800 records will be successful. They won't be rolled back. So this is another benefit of using batch epics, right? So if one batch is failing, so it won't be impacting other batches. They will be executing properly if they have no errors, right? So this way, I hope you understood how batch epics actually works. Now, as I told you, we'll be implementing an interface. So interface name is database.batchable. So this interface we just need to implement, and you will be having three methods there: start, execute, and finish. So in every batch apex class, you will be defining all three methods, and these three methods serves different purposes, right? So one by one, we are going to discuss about each method so that you can understand. Yeah, so Sachin is asking what's the benefit we will get if we process 10K records asynchronously. So Sachin, basically, when we implement this batch epics and you want to process 10K records asynchronously, so like once you initiated your batch epics, so if you want to run it synchronously, so in that case, uh, once that batch process is completed, then only you can initiate any other process. But here what will happen once you have initiated that batch epics, and suppose you are working on millions of records, so it will take lots of time. So what will happen, it will be running in the background, and in the foreground you can start working and initiate any other process as well. And later on, what we can do, this batch epics we can schedule as well, right? So it will be running at particular time interval, like weekly or daily basis at particular time. So this way you can just schedule your batch epics. So for real time example, like we have mobile data nowadays, and we have daily limit for mobile data in India. And like for example, if you have purchased a plan and where you are getting 1 GB data on daily basis, so what happens at 12 midnight, whatever your data usage is, your limit is refreshed automatically at 12 midnight, and for next day you will be having again 1 GB data in your mobile phone. So that is done through scheduled batch, right? So batch is implemented, you don't need to run it manually, it will be executed automatically with the help of scheduled apex, right? So if you implement any batch apex, so that batch apex you can just schedule as well, right? So we have three methods: start, execute, and finish. So we'll be understanding them. So Jana is asking, can we increase the batch limit? So yes, we can. We can decide what should be the batch limit, but maximum is 2000, right? So default is 200, minimum you can have one, and maximum is 2000. So Sachin, you posted it correctly, right? Thank you for sharing your knowledge. So this is important to know. It is also an interview question, like can we change the batch size, and what is the default batch limit, what is the maximum, what is the minimum. So everything you need to remember. Now, if we move forward, so one by one, we'll be discussing about each method. So first method is start. So start method basically collect the record or objects to be passed to the interface method, execute for processing. So in simple terms, if I say start method basically collects the data on which we want to apply a process, right? So start method is called once at the beginning of the batch epics job. So this is important to know. Like in entire batch epics, it will be called once, no matter how many records you have. It basically returns a database.query locator object or an iterable that contains the records or objects passed to the job. So this we'll see with the help of example when I will be showing you the code. So you will see we'll be generally using database.query locator because it can give you a large number of records. So when query locator object is used, the governor limit for the total number of records retrieved by SOQL queries is bypassed and 50 million records can be queried, right? So generally we prefer database.query locator if you want to retrieve the data in start method. And whereas with an iterable governor limit by SOQL queries is enforced. So generally SOQL can query 50,000 records, so that limit will be applied. But if you go with database.query locator, so that limit will be bypassed and you can query 50 million records. So generally start method is used to fetch the data. Then we have second method, which is execute. So it performs actual processing for each batch of data passed. Default batch size is 200 records. Batches of records can execute in any order. It doesn't depend on which order they are received from the start method, right? So this is also important to know. If you have created a 5, 10, 15, 20, no matter how many batches you have created, they can execute in any order. It take a reference to the database.batchable context object and a list of as object or a list of parameterized type. So this number 4 will be understanding with the help of syntax. And when using database.query locator, use the returned list, right? So generally we will be using database.query locator to fetch the data, and whatever data will be fetched through database.query locator, so that will be returned through start method and it will be available in the execute method in form of list of s object, right? And last method is finish. So it is executed post processing operation. So once all your batches are processed through execute method, so it comes in the picture and it will be executed once. So it calls once after all batches are processed, right? For example, sending an email process can be implemented in finish method. So once all your batches are processed, so if you want to send an email, so that code you can write in the finish method. Okay. So this is the syntax that you need to understand. So first line says public class, then my batch. So this is the class name. Then implements is a keyword, and then we are implementing database.batchable. So this is the syntax. You need to use it as is. Then we have first method, that is start. We have second method, that is execute. We have third method, that is finish, right? And each method you can see we need to pass one parameter of type batchable context, database.batchable context, and BC is a name of variable. It is available in each method, whether it is finish, execute, or start. And start is having return type, so we have two options. We can use database.query locator. We can use iterable as well. So it depends like how many records you are querying. Basis on that you can prefer. And whatever data will be returned from the start method, that will be stored here under this records. So list of P. So here you just need to specify the S object, right? So this is the general syntax that we'll be using to implement any process with the help of batch epics, right? So now moving forward, if you want to execute your batch, so what you need to do, whatever batch class you are implementing, you need to create its instance. And then you need to call this execute batch method. And in that method, you can pass that instance that you have created. Okay. and the batch ID will be returned. So you can just receive it, and that batch ID you can use to know the status of the batch. And if you want to pass the batch size, so this way you can change. So in above statement, default batch size will be 200. In below statement, default batch size will be 100. So if you want to manipulate batch size, so you can just pass it as a second parameter. So Ankit is asking, we can't schedule asynchronous epics. So let me jump here, and I'm going to show you the chat as well so that you can see what all questions are here. So we cannot schedule synchronous epics. It is not possible. If you want to do that, so we have schedule triggered flow. So there you can create a process, and other classes also. Yeah, that also you can schedule, but for that you will be using synchronous, sorry, you will be using scheduled apex process. That is part of asynchronous apex, right? So through that you can call any apex class that you can schedule. But if you are talking about code, so you need to use asynchronous process for sure. Yes, Sachin, if we need to process more records, so instead of going through synchronous, we can go through asynchronous process. So Mamta is asking how many times execute method called. So execute method basically processes depending on number of records. So if you, like Sachin mentioned a solution, so it depends on how many records you are fetching. So if you are fetching or querying 1000 records, so there will be 5 batches because default batch size is 200. So in that case, your execute method will be executing 5 times. Yes, Shrivali, after completion of Lightning Web Component, there will be deployment related sessions as well. Okay, so I hope you understood the basic process of batch epics. So moving forward, so in previous step, like the batch ID which we received, if you want to uh, know the status of your batch epics, so you can apply this SQL which says select ID, status, job items processed, total job items, number of errors from async apex jobs where ID equals to batch ID. So if you execute this SQL, so you will be getting the information about your batch epics. And yesterday I showed you, like through UI also you can see the status. So we can utilize that functionality as well. Now I'm going to give you a small demo where I will be implementing a batch epics, and will show you like how it will be implemented and executed. So we'll be implementing its test class as well. Okay, so jumping here, and I'm going to implement it for you. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to implement a batch epics which will be querying all the opportunity records, and all those opportunity records will be updated. And on opportunity we have a field called lead source, so I will be updating that lead source for all the opportunities. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a opportunity processor, right? So public class opportunity processor, and here I'm writing implements database dot batchable, and here we need to pass s object, right? After that I'm passing one more interface, that is database dot stateful, right? So now I'm creating one integer variable, that is record count. So this record count is initially 0, and for this record count variable we actually implemented this database.stateful. So I will be explaining you the purpose of this database.stateful. So right now you can just ignore it. you need to focus on this database.batchable as object. So if you want to convert your Apex class into batch Apex, so you need to implement this interface database.batchable, right? And here we have created this variable record count. So I will be explaining the use of this, but before that I'm going to implement all three methods: start, execute, and finish. So public, then database dot query locator, then name of method is start, and here we need to write database dot batchable context, and variable name can be anything, right? So this is the name of method. Start is the name of the method, and this parameter you need to pass because this start method is basically available in this interface, and it is predefined. That's why we need to pass this parameter here of type database.batchable context. Now here we are writing return database.get query locator, and here I'm going to write this SOQL, right? So basically what I'm doing, I'm just querying ID and lead source of all the opportunity records, and I'm not storing it into a list. I'm just writing the statement with return. So this start method will be returning the data which we are going to query with this SOQL, right? Now I'm going to define one more method, that is public void execute. And again here I just need to pass this as a parameter. So I can just copy and paste it. Now here I need to use one more parameter, that will be list of opportunity, and those opportunities I'm just storing into OPPS. So this is a list, and whatever data will be returning from here, that data will be automatically stored in this OPPS variable. So this list name can be anything. The S object will depend like what type of data you are querying, from which object you are querying the data, right? So this way you can define these type and name, and here we need to implement the process, right? So here I can apply null check as well. So if not OPPS dot is empty, if it is not empty, so there may be chances like if you query some data and there is no record available under the object. So for that purpose, you can apply null check. And here what you can do, you can apply for opportunity. So what will happen, we have all the opportunities here in this OPPS. So this opportunity list will be iterated one by one, and data will be available into this OPP. Now what we need to do, this OPP.lead source we need to modify. So what I'm going to do, for all opportunity records, like whatever opportunity records are available under the object, I just want to update all opportunity record lead source to web. So this is my requirement, and this I'm going to show you for a demo purpose, right? In real time, what we do, we can apply where clause here, we can apply some limits so that particular record will be queried, and basis on that we will be applying the process. Okay, so once this loop is completed, so here I can write update OPPS, and I'm just writing record count equals to record count plus OPPS dot size. Now we need to understand why I wrote this statement. So basically what I am doing, whatever opportunity size is, whatever number of records are available in this OPPS list, so that size will be added into this record count. So I already told you, if you are working on large number of records, so this execute method will be executed many times. So every time what will happen, this record count will be counting total number of records which are available in this opportunity list. So for example, you are querying 900 records and default batch size is 200. So first batch will give you 200. So 200 will be added into record count. Then for next batch, when this execute method will be executing. So this record count will be having value as 400 because prior it was having 200 and next time it will be having new 200 added, right? And this is happening because of this database.stateful. So if I remove this database.stateful, so for each execute method, record count will be initialized with 0. If I remove this database.stateful interface, so what will happen? This record count variable will be reset as 0 whenever execute method begins its execution for individual batches. Now, if you want to preserve the value of record count variable for different batches, so for that purpose, you need to write this database.stateful interface, right? So this is the purpose of this method. Now, after this, what we need to do? We need to implement one more method, that is public void finish. And here also we need to write database.batchable context BC. And here I'm going to write system.debug. So as you know, finish will be working once. So here what we can do, we can just show the final value of record count. So the number of records which you are processing. So the total number of records will be available here because we are preserving the data of record count variable every time whenever execute method is executed. Right, so this way you can implement your batch epics. So this execute method is important because here you will be implementing all the business logic. In start method, you will be querying all the data on which you want to apply the process. And in finish, you can write the statements, whatever you want to execute once all the batches are processed with the help of execute method. Right, so this way we can implement it. Now what we need to do, we need to execute this, right? So right now we are not going to schedule it, so we need to execute it manually. And for manual execution, what we need to do, we just need to go to anonymous window, and under anonymous window I will be writing some code and it will start execution. Before that, I'm going to take you under Apex jobs. So here you can see we have Apex jobs. If you want to search for Apex jobs, so here you can search under setup. So Apex jobs option will be available, and right now we have one Apex jobs that we executed yesterday. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to run this batch Apex, and here you will see one more entry. Batch Apex will be executing, so you will see one more entry available. Okay, so now I'm going to execute it. So I'm just opening anonymous window, and here I will be writing few lines of code so that you can understand how our batch Apex can be called. So there is little bit internet fluctuation, so I'm just repeating whatever I explained. So I just showed you how you can search for Apex jobs, and once you find Apex jobs, so what you can do, here you can see whatever batch Apex you have executed, right? So that entry will be available here, and here in anonymous window I will be writing the code so that you can understand how it will be executed. Okay, so here I'm going to write the code. So first of all, what you need to do, you need to create an instance of your class. So generally what we do, we create static methods and we call those static methods with the name of class. But here we are not having any static method because it is different process. So you need to create an instance like this. And in initial sessions, I told you, like, I explained you how we can create instance. So this is the same. If you don't have any static method, so you can create instance of the class. And here I'm going to call it like this: database dot execute batch. And here you can pass this value. Okay, so with this, your batch will be executed. Now, before executing this batch, I am moving here under opportunities, right? So under opportunities, here I'm going to select all opportunities, and I'm going to add a field. So I'm going to add the field as lead source. So from here, I'm selecting lead source and shifting it in the beginning and clicking on save. So right now you can see lead source is different for records. For few records it is blank, for few records it is having a different. But now when I will be executing the batch, so it will be web for all the records, right? It will be web for all the records. And here you can see we have lots of records. We have lots of records. So total 267 records we are having. So I guess total number of batches will be 2, because default batch size is 200, right? So now I'm going to execute this so that you can experience how batch actually work. So moving to developer console, here we have anonymous window. These two lines are available, so I'm just clicking on execute. So both the lines will be executed, and here it is showing some error. Execute batch. Okay, it is showing some error, so I'm just going to have it again. Okay, I just found the mistake. Basically, what I did, I didn't save the code. So if you see here, it is showing some asterisk. I didn't save the code. So what I need to do, first of all, I'm just going to save this. So clicking on the class and pressing Control S. So here you can see it is saving. Now it is saved, and I'm going to click on execute once again. So it is now executed. Right, so before start executing your code, you need to save whatever batch epics you have implemented. Right, now I am moving here first, so I am refreshing this page, apex jobs. So here we have one entry right now, future method, but now you will see two entries. We have one more entry for batch epics, right? So it is for 2nd of May, 7:39 a.m. You can see job type is batch epics. It is completed because we have less number of records. Total batches 2, because 200 more than 200 records were there. So 2 batches are processed, failures are 0, and you can see other details are available. Okay, now if we go here and if I pin it and refresh the opportunity tab, so here you can see all the records are having lead source as web, all the records. So this way, if you want to mass update your existing records basis on particular SOQL, so you can use batch epics for execution. Right now, you might be thinking how we can pass batch size manually. So right now default batch size is 200. If you want to modify it, we can do. But before that, I want to show you one more thing. So in finish method, we use this statement, total records processed. So if I go here under logs, so here I just need to open these one by one so that I can find debugs. So I just need to click on debug only, and here you can see total records processed is 267. So it is showing total number of records, like 200 records processed through one batch and 67 records processed through another batch. And why it is showing 267? Because we implemented this interface, database.stateful. If you remove it, so it will show you 67 only. So first batch 200 will be counted, but when second batch will be started, its execution, so record count will be initiating with 0 if you don't write this database.stateful interface. Right? So I hope you understood everything, whatever is written over here. Now I'm going to modify it. So I'm passing 100 here, or let's say 50. I'm passing 50 here. So we have 267 records, right? So total 6 batches will be there. Total number of batches will be 600. Okay, so again I'm going to execute it, and moving here, this page, I'm going to refresh. So you will see one more entry here. So you can see one more entry. So earlier we executed it at 7:39 a.m. Second execution happened at 7:42 a.m. And here you can see total number of batches 6, because we provided batch size as 50. Right? So this way you can manually manipulate the batch size, but default is 200. If you want to provide this batch size manually, you can do very well. Right? So this way, I hope you understood. Now I'm going to take your questions. So Abhishek is asking when we use trigger and when we use batch class. So answer is simple. If you have newly created, or you are updating your record from UI, you are deleting your records, then trigger executes. But if you are not doing anything on your record and you want to do mass operations on your existing records, then we implement batch class. So Sunil, I already explained you database.queryLocator and iterable. So if you use iterable, so SOQL limit will be applied. But if you use database.queryLocator, so that limit won't be applied, and you will be able to query 50 million records. So in our example, we used database.queryLocator as a return type. And to get the data, we are using this method getQueryLocator. So generally we prefer this notation only. Yeah, so start and finish only runs once, and execute will run in batches until all the records passed from start are done. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so basically, whenever there are large number of records, and you want to do some operations on those existing records, so every time we go for batch epics. So next question is, when you pass the second parameter, that is 50. So if we want to split the batch into multiple, for that we have to use the second parameter or not. And yeah, it is an optional parameter. So Jana, you can see in first execution I didn't use it, so I just passed one parameter, right? And in second execution I wrote it like this. So this batch size is optional. If you provide, so accordingly batches will be processed. If you don't provide, so default batch size will be 200. Okay, so with this, now I am moving further. So now what we need to do, we need to understand how we can implement its test class, right? So I already explained you the process, like how we can implement batch epics, how we can execute, how we can monitor. So everything I explained to you, right? So now what we need to do, so here we monitored, here we saw the results, and from here we implemented batch epics through anonymous window we actually executed. And later, like on Thursday, you will see how we can schedule batch epics as well. But before that, I'm going to create new class and will be implementing its test class. So opportunity processor test. So it will be annotated with @istest. I am saving it. And for practice purpose, if you go to this document, so here one batch code, like batch code you need to implement for this requirement. So for all the accounts where billing address is populated, you need to copy that billing address to all the related contacts mailing address, right? So this you need to do with the help of batch epics. You need to write its test class as well. Okay, so I hope you are enjoying this exercise document, those who are following this bootcamp. And it is very important if you want to become expert in Salesforce. And it is kind of your internship. So if you are following this bootcamp from the beginning, so you can consider this like bootcamp your internship, because in internship also industry experts teach you few topics, they give you assignment tasks and you implement them. So you can consider this bootcamp as your internship. So moving forward, now I'm going to implement the test class. So here @istest for the method. So I'm writing private static void test batch class. So basically here we need to create the data. So we processed batch on opportunity. So I'm going to create opportunity list here. So in test class, first of all, we'll be creating the data. So here I'm going to create $200 records. So here we need to provide the required field values. So test I is opportunity name. Then we need to provide close date. So close date, I am just writing system.today. Then we need to provide the stage. So stage name I am providing as prospecting, right? So this way I'm just creating the data. So here you can see total 200 records will be created, right? 200 records will be created, and those records will be having some data. After completion of this loop, I'm just writing insert OPP list, and here I can write test dot start test so that we can have fresh governor limits. And after this insert, what I need to do, I just need to initiate that batch, right? So I just need to initiate that batch. So what we'll be doing, so from here I'm just copying this and I'm going to paste it here. Okay, so you can see, first of all, I just inserted all the opportunities, then opportunity processor, this class instance I'm creating, and then I'm calling this that execute batch method where I'm passing the instance, and here like we will be processing it for 200 records. So in test class, whenever you test your batch, so you can provide batch size as 200. Right, and here I'm going to write test dot stop test. Okay, so this way, like first of all we created the data, then we called batch epics. Now what we need to do, we need to query opportunity records so that we can verify whether opportunity records are updated or not, right? So here we created 200 records, and through that batch epics, all 200 records should be having lead source as web. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create list of opportunity and naming it as updated opportunities. Now here I'm going to query from opportunity. Here I'm going to query from opportunity where lead source equals to web. Right, so what I did, I just queried all the opportunity records where lead source is web, right? So you can see I'm querying the opportunities where lead sources web. So we created 200 records here, then we executed a batch. So batch will be updating all 200 records. Now here I just need to apply system dot assert equal, and I just need to check the size of this list, updated opportunity. If it is equals to 200, it means 200 records are updated with lead source as web. If it is equal, so this will pass. If it is not passed, then like your logic is not correctly implemented. Okay, so I'm just saving the code and it is having some error. So here I just missed this bracket. So yesterday I also did same mistake. So now you can see the code is saved permanently, and this test class is available here. Now moving to test tab, clicking on run test. So it is failing. So let's see what is the error. So assertion is failing, expected 200 and actual is 0. So there is some mistake in the code. So let me just check it again. So I'm just checking what mistake I did. So we inserted the opportunities, then opportunity process instance we created, then in database dot execute batch we are passing it. So the code seems correct. Okay, so here I'm just changing it, although it is case insensitive, but here I'm just changing it and trying to execute it once again. Again, it is failing, so let me just check. So I'm just checking why it is failing. If you find out any mistakes, so let me know in the chat. Yeah. So I think Vamshi picked my mistake. So what I did, I just created these opportunities, but I didn't add this opportunity into opportunity list. So thank you for those who pointed out this error. So here I just need to write opp list dot add, and here I need to add opportunities. So this is a statement I missed. So inside loop, I just need to add all the opportunity instances into OPP list. Now opportunities will be inserted and it will run. So again, I'm just saving the code, and so this happens sometimes because I just wrote the code and I was unable to find out the bug. So with your help, I am able to complete it now. So I'm just clicking on run test. Okay, it is again showing some error. So let me see what is it now. So insert failed. Okay, so here it is asking please populate amount on opportunity. So there is one validation available which is saying us to populate opportunity amount as well. So what we need to do, we need to populate amount also. Right, so I think this time it will run successfully. So again I'm clicking on run test. Yeah, this time you can see our test classes passing successfully. right? And if I go here and check the code coverage, so it is 100%. All the lines are covered, which we implemented. So this way, whenever you want to write your batch epics, so just implement the batch epics, and through this test class, this way you can test whether it is working fine or not. So first of all, you need to create the data and then insert that, then execute your batch, and then query the records which you modified or updated, and then apply the assert operation. And I hope you understood why assert is important, because I just forgot to write the statement, so I just found out this error with the help of assert equal. If I didn't write assert equal, so we won't be able to verify whether a code is working fine or not. So this is best practice to write assert equals in each code. So this way, I hope you understood how batch epics works, how we can implement, how we can test it through anonymous window, how we can monitor it, how we can view the updated values on UI, and how we can implement the test class. Right now, I'm moving to the chat so that I can take your questions. So Jana, I already told you like second parameter is optional. Yes, Jana, we can change batch size limit from 200 to 500. Yeah. So you just need to pass that second parameter, but the actual default size, that is 200, that you cannot change. So Venkatesh, I already explained how to write test classes for if-else condition. So if you have if-else condition, so in that case, you will be implementing two test methods in your test class, right? So that I already explained you. Yeah, so there is one question, when to use private, public and global. So generally private we use if we want to use that method or variable inside the class. So if you want to restrict method or variable into one class, then you use private. If you want your method can be accessible outside the class, then you use public. And if you want your methods will be accessible outside the namespace, outside the application, then you can use global, right? So Venkatesh, this scenario I already demonstrated when we were discussing about test class. So you can just go through the test class sessions. You will understand how we can implement positive and negative test cases for if-else conditions. Okay, so this way I hope everybody understood whatever I explained today, and this way batch epics is completed. And tomorrow we will be discussing about queuable epics, and day after tomorrow I will show you how we can schedule epics classes with the help of scheduled epics. So this is it for today's session. If you have more question you can ask, otherwise you can go and do some practice. And at 9 p.m. we'll be having cybersecurity bootcamp, so do join that. And please share this channel link with the folks. So from next month I will be starting new bootcamp that will be on C and C++ programming. So all the beginner, those who are related to college, freshers, switching from non-IT to IT, if they want to begin their coding journey, so C and C++ programming languages are based for beginners. So that bootcamp will be running for 2 to 3 months. It will be starting from next month, like June first week. I have already created a Telegram group for that. So you can just join that Telegram group if you want to receive timely notification, right? So there are few more questions coming up. So Mamta is asking, can you explain bulkification? So bulkification is simple. So whenever we need to create lots of records, so here we are creating bulkification. So this loop will be iterating 200 times 200 opportunities will be created through this statement OPP, and all the opportunities will be added into this opportunity list, right? So Charlie, I already showed you like this batch epics we implemented to change the existing lead source value to web for all the records. It is working. So you can implement it in your system. So whatever records you are having already in your org, so all those records lead source will convert into web. So Naveen, we are not updating lead source prospecting. Prospecting is basically stage. So here we didn't provide lead source. Lead source is null, blank, and then it will be updated to web. So here we didn't provide lead source any value. Lead source is a pick list and that will be having none. So once that batch will be executed, so all the records will be having lead source as web. No, Venkatesh, the topics which I already completed, I won't be repeating them because I have limited time. So you can just go and check the test class sessions. There you will get to know for if else how we can write two different methods. Thank you, Shrivali, for appreciating my efforts. So I'm trying to explain everything in detail so that I can answer all of your questions. So I'm doing this for the community so that you can learn things properly. So this is it for today's session. We'll see you tomorrow with new topic, that is queuable epics. Thank you everybody for joining this session. Keep learning, keep motivating yourself, and keep providing some feedback for me. So from few days you have not provided any feedback and reviews. So I would request, please provide some feedback and reviews so that I also can get some motivation, and please show some gratitude and support and help Sanjay Gupta Tech School YouTube channel to reach 100K subscribers on YouTube by the end of this year. Right, so right now I am running two boot camps, one on Salesforce and one on cybersecurity. From next month there will be one more boot camp, and I am also planning to have one more boot camp on Salesforce Cloud, right? So there will be 3-4 boot camps running in parallel at different times, right? And gradually you will be having a lot more. So I'm working on different concepts. So wherever things are working out, so I will be sharing all the information with you so that you can get benefited. Thank you everybody for joining this session. See you tomorrow at same time.